Hello and welcome to the Daily Roto Premium NBA Show. This is the Monday, April 12th edition. Andrew Barron here, Christopher Pacheco here. Pacheco, how you feeling, bud? And you had a long weekend, huh? Doing better?
Oh, man, doing much, much better this time around. For those that might not know, I got my second shot of the COVID vaccine last Friday, and it did put me down essentially till today, till I woke up today. But I'm feeling much better now. Wasn't feeling as hot once I saw that, read up on the situation with, this young kid, Dante Wright, who was shot and killed yesterday. I feel horrible.
Yeah.
I feel disgusted, and with that, we're not going to have that Minnesota-Brooklyn game tonight. We don't know if there will be others following suit. I know the Red Sox at Twins game also got postponed, so we might see some others getting postponed. We'll obviously keep you updated on that, but certainly a tragedy, and it's horrible.
It really is, man. It really is. There's not much more you can say. For our purposes, today, that means we're dealing with an 8-game slate instead of a 9-game slate because the cops can't stop shooting people. But the biggest news, I think, the biggest different situation we are dealing with today is with the Utah Jazz, who we have constantly talked about how consistent they are and how clean their injury report has been. They are one of the only they haven't gotten any COVID problems, basically. They've had a really smooth sailing season, but that does not appear to be the case tonight. And they are on the front end of a back-to-back. They're playing Washington at home, so they're still just like massive favorites. But they're going to be down some dudes, and they kind of play the same position. And this is a bit of an uncharted situation. So give me the rundown on that, if you would, please.
Yeah, so Utah doesn't need this game. Obviously, right? That not a must-win for them, but they are down Mike Conley and Jordan Clarkson doubtful, and that is a situation that we have not seen all season on Utah, Andrew. So it's a brand new one for us. In terms of changes, the starting five is pretty obvious. We know Ingles is very, very likely going to enter it. We should have Don Mitchell, Gobert, Ingles, Bogdanovich, and Royce O'Neal. There should be, nothing different about that whatsoever. I think the second unit is where you're going to see some changes. Obviously, Favors already plays a big role on this team as a backup center. You have Niang, who's a forward that plays some minutes for them. That's no different. But you have a backup point guard and Matt Thomas that you typically don't see a lot of minutes in terms of these guys playing a lot of minutes. And tonight they're going to have to play some real NBA minutes. But Don Mitchell should, if this game stays competitive, I see no issues for Don Mitchell to just surpass his median projection. No issues.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm interested because I do think the starters will run the sort of standard Utah offense, where it's just all pick and rolls and whoever's open gets the shot. Usually they aren't like going to Donovan Mitchell for like massive usage until the games get tight. When it becomes like you've mentioned this a number of times. He's the guy that takes the tough shots for them. But like Utah doesn't take a whole lot of tough shots is the thing. So he's rating incredibly well. He's the guy who's going to soak up the most usage. Like he's got top optimal shooting guard on both sites. We definitely like the play. I am a little reticent to just be like, okay, well now he's going to have a 32% usage. I think they'll spread it around a lot. What's sort of interesting to think about is like what they do, like you were saying with the second unit, not just who plays it, but like who takes the shots, or do they spend a fair amount of resources trying to stagger those starters so they've always got like an Ingles or Mitchell out there to be the main ball handler? I think so too.
Where I disagree with you is with Don Mitchell and his usage. Like, I don't know if it'll be spread out. Over the last 3 games, he's posted a 46.5, 40, and 41% usage rate.
Strong counterpoint
for this team. And, he goes – we saw it in the bubble too. All of a sudden, he just completely takes over. And this is also happening with no Jordan Clarkson and now tonight no Mike Conley. Like, I think it's pretty obvious what's happening here. We're not even having them in the 40s. Obviously, I think that would be an egregious projection on our end, but that upside is there tonight.
Yep. If you want to buy into narratives too, like Donovan Mitchell really does kind of take his game up when he's like playing against other dudes that he thinks are his competition. And like, Bradley Beal would be one of those guys. He thinks he's just as good as Bradley Beal. Of course he does. And would like to show off, I think. Same with Westbrook for that matter. So that makes sense. It's a good counterpoint. I just like, that's the one thing that sort of gave me a little bit of pause, but it's not really that big of a deal. And like, whatever. Yeah, he's a really strong play tonight. So is Gobert, just the slight upticks. His role isn't going to change a ton, but like, I don't know. Yeah, he does rate a little bit better. Great matchup. Yep, absolutely. On the Washington side of the ball, I mean, these are so Clarkson and to some extent Conley. Conley historically is a very good defensive player. He's been pretty good, but like just size-wise, he's like one of their weaker defenders. Also because this team is just loaded with very strong defensive players. So like Utah's defense isn't going to get any worse tonight, really. So like it's still a pretty rugged matchup for the Wizards guys, but I mean Westbrook I think is a really strong play. I don't think his ownership is particularly big, and he's just one of he can put up just stupid stats. Luka's been ugly lately, so there's some worry with him. Jokic is in there. They are only 4-point favorites against Golden State. Probably the Wiseman effect, but I'm dead serious. But there's Denver could take down Golden State handily. There's issues. And so like, there's not, even though you see a lot of big time studs and a lot of big time, like, oh, normally this is a guy that I'm really excited to play in DFS. There's enough question marks with all of them that I think playing some Westbrook is a pretty good idea tonight.
Have you followed the Westbrook in Utah narrative as well? In terms of like, well, I mean, there's been fans like going back and forth with him.
Oh yeah, that. Oh right, yeah.
Dude,
sorry, I totally forgot about that. Yeah,
this dude just goes in there mad. Listen, I can't boost his projection because he's mad, but it's a thing. It's a thing with him. He's mentioned it. It's public. And tonight I know Beal's probable, but Beal, it seems like he's going to play banged up the rest of the season. This dude has multiple injuries. It doesn't look great. And if that means Westbrook's rates are just going to get even bigger, even better of a play. So I do like Westbrook in this spot. I know the spread is double digits, Andrew, but no Conley, no Clarkson. It feels like to me, Utah's still obviously very good, and it's a great spot for them. But I think this game strikes me as one that could be competitive into the fourth. I think Utah's going to win, but I think it can be competitive into the fourth. And if that's what you believe, I do think playing Westbrook tonight makes some sense. Beal, I think he's okay. That's kind of where I'm at with him. I'd rather Westbrook.
Same. I'm with you. And he's the guy that, in theory, if he's having a somewhat efficient night, it's going to help him keep it close. It makes, it's a boon for Donovan Mitchell, et cetera. If those two are going head to head, that could be excellent for fantasy. So
the only thing I'd say on the Washington side that's different, by the way, is Daniel Gafford is back for this team. And so now we have that coveted 3-center rotation.
Sure,
so don't think you can do any, we were talking about playing some Rolo at times or Len. You can't do that now.
Yeah. Don't try to get any sneaky shares of Alex Len because the 28-minute upside is not there. It's not there against Utah anyway. Like you cannot play traditional centers against them. I'm interested to see how that works actually if they start playing like some, Bertans or off the 5 or whatever, like just because Rui clearly, but it's gonna be tough for him. It is gonna be tough for him. Utah, really good rim protection team. That Rudy Gobert guy, really good rim protector. That's tough for Russ. Russ is gonna have to hit pull-ups. But if he does, if he's hitting those, then the 80 burger is like very, very live.
It's live. Yeah.
And I don't think his ownership is quite there because the expensive price tag, but I've updated the Sims and Peons. We'll get the projections pulled from site for the PPD shortly, but the Sims and Peons are already updated for that, and Russ is still not garnering a ton of ownership when it's like Russ, Luka, Curry. What do we got? Sorry, I went straight to point.
Yeah.
So the studs tonight, because we lost Durant, Harden, and Kyrie were out anyway. We lost Kat. So there's Luka with question marks. There's Jokic, with some question marks, but he's going to be insanely popular. Whatever. He's probably the least question marky of the studs. Curry's very expensive now. Embiid, there's question marks, right? Zion is very expensive. That's the next kind of guy up there. So it's not I don't know. Like Westbrook does make a fair amount of sense as being the premium stud tonight, even though it's a brutal matchup and it's a blowout spread. So I don't hate it. Let's see. Let's talk about that Dallas and Philly game because that's a pretty interesting one. Real life. It's might be slow. The totals aren't great. It's more of a defensive game. I think certainly. Philly is a really, really good half-court defense, and Dallas is not a particularly get out there and run kind of team. So that could be a little bit trickier for them. And Luka's rates have not been phenomenal lately, nor is his efficiency. Embiid, the minutes have come and gone. He's played minutes. I think he's a strong play tonight. I really like it, but it's been tricky. He's had a hard time reaching that monster ceiling. The real studs are not hitting 70 and 80 with any regularity lately. So there's questions all around. But let's talk. Dallas is on the back end of a back-to-back. I guess let's hit their injury report first because it's a little more interesting. There's players on it. There aren't on Phillies.
Yeah, so Maxi Kleber is probable tonight. He wasn't playing yesterday. Porzingis is Q. Last back-to-back, he wasn't even on the injury report. So this time around, there is a chance that he misses. And then J.J. Redick is Q. He hasn't officially played his first game as a member of the Mavericks yet. So not sure if obviously he's probably going to play a role on this team. I'd be interested to see how big of a role that is, right? Even if he was ruled in tonight, I'm not sure that I project minutes there because I am just not sure how to handle that situation. He might vulture some away from Timmy Hardaway or Brunson, but it might just be 10 minutes. It's not going to be anything substantial, in my opinion. So Luka, right? We're down to Luka because realistically, there's no one else really playable on the Dallas side. Porzingis, you can make an argument for on FanDuel at 8,700, but it is second out of a back-to-back. That's tough. It's tough. It's tough for him. So if we're down to Luka, I've been mentioning this essentially every show at this point lately. His rates have been really down, and it's not just last 10. It goes back a bit now, more like last 20 type of thing, and it's everything, right? It's the usage rate has been fine, but the assist rate has been nosediving, and so has the rebounding rate. So he had a game the other night where he could have triple doubled and done the close to 60 burger on DraftKings, but the challenge, Andrew, on FanDuel is he doesn't have those bonuses over there. And he comes preloaded with a -4, -5 because of the turnovers. Yeah, and so it's really tough for Luka right now to do the big thing on FanDuel. So I think he's fine. Certainly think Dallas has to win some games here. So I'm not worried about the minutes, even on the second out of a back-to-back. But I don't like what I'm seeing on the rates. And it's not like the price tag is down to the 9s or anything like that. If they were, I think we'd be singing a different tune, right? So he's still kind of priced the same way. So,
and he's a little like Zion, where you're not getting. There's the turnover problem, but or Trae Young, where you're not getting a ton of steals and blocks either with it. He's got about a 1% of each. So over 100 possessions, that's 2 stocks. But if he's playing 2/3 of a game, then it's 1.3 stocks a game or something like that, which is not particularly. That's exciting. It's not what you want. Yeah, no. You need him, and he can certainly have the 4 steal games. They come, but they're not something you are really relying on. So it really, for Luka to just go nuts, especially on FanDuel, it's he needs 30 real points and a dozen assists at least to get you started. So
right now, it feels like 60, right? It feels like we're topping out at 60. if he has a big game. Not that it's a bad thing. It just feels like that's where he's topping out right now.
Yep. Kleber's probable, but if for some reason he doesn't play, like I don't know who the hell Dallas puts on Embiid if he doesn't. Like he's kind of their only guy. So if he's not there, like that's a big deal for Embiid. I think Embiid, whatever. Embiid can do whatever he wants to whoever he wants for the most part. But Kleber is certainly the best guy that Dallas has to put on him.
I'd be surprised if Boban didn't get if Kleber is out, if Porzingis is out too. Like I'd be pretty surprised if Boban doesn't get minutes in this spot and maybe some decent run. It's not. It wouldn't be a good match. I mean, Embiid would probably just do some things, but
yeah, he'll get in foul trouble. But whatever. It's not like they want 20 minutes out of him, so he can just foul them all he wants anyway. No, that's probably a good point because Philly isn't like a particularly dangerous shooting team either. So. And they're not running a ton of pick and roll, and that's where the traditional centers are screwed. Is if you're shooting a lot from three and trying to get the center pulled away from the basket, and Philly doesn't really do that. He can just go out there and be a big body next to Embiid. So that's a good one. I'm with you there.
I don't think they'd be able to run him for a million minutes, but we saw the situation happen earlier in the season, and he played 16 and a half minutes. In a game that also wasn't too competitive, but I remember that game. He came in, even in a little bit of a blowout, played a little bit. I've mentioned spots where Boban could play 20 plus. This one doesn't strike me as one, but he might start again because he started at that one.
So. Okay. No, and I was not – sorry, I probably didn't make that clear. I was not saying this is a Boban spot. I was saying Boban could get in there to guard and beat. I don't think you're playing Boban necessarily. Whatever. If he starts, it's worth a flyer. He's super cheap, and guy puts up a lot. He can put up a lot of points in a hurry. But I think the big thing is he's just going to go out there and foul and beat for 12, 16, 18 minutes. Okay, here. So, fun fantasy game. I think it's Chicago and Memphis. They're both on the back end of a back-to-back, which is somewhat concerning. But I don't know. These are both like. Okay, defenses. They play kind of fast, like cool young players. There's some guys in here. Pretty clean injury reports. So like I don't know, pick a team and talk about them. I guess the Temple might be coming back, but that's about it.
By the way, is it Embiid or bust for you on Philadelphia tonight?
Yeah, I think so. Is Curry like 4K anywhere? Then maybe
Seth Curry's 4,300 on FanDuel. That interests you at all?
Yeah, a couple stabs.
That interested me. Yeah, that interested me. But yeah, it feels like it feels a little bit Embiid-ish or bustish.
Yeah, I don't think Simmons really has a great thing going because Dallas has all those like super long guys that can at least like get near the rim if he's driving, and like he's probably going to get Finney Smith as his primary defender, and he's really good. So I think that's probably tough for Simmons. And kind of the same thing with Harris. But
listen, Simmons at some point he'll do something nice. Here's the argument to that. He hasn't done anything nice in months. It feels like so. Yeah, he needs a fast game. Like, then this isn't going to be that. Yeah, and his rates next to Embiid have just plummeted. Right. He needs a fast game, and his team is not fast when Embiid's there. So, like, that does make it pretty tough for him. Yeah, so anyway, just wanted to ask you on that side, but we can definitely move over to Chicago and Memphis, right? That was the next game on the docket here. Yeah. So teams on back and a back-to-back. I think so. Our boy Zach has been pretty awesome lately, and he's not cheap anymore on FanDuel or DraftKings for that matter. He's near 9K. Rates have been pretty strong. Assist rate has been coming back up, even with Vooch in there. You mentioned Temple being a guy that could be back tonight. Doubt that does much. I mean, it might take away from Troy Brown or, guys like that. But kills fringe guys more than anything else. I'm with you. Yes, so I'm not really worried there. But yeah, I like Zach, and I liked Zach in this spot. I think Vooch is completely fine. Still, I think Vooch is priced a little bit on his Orlando days. Wish he was a little bit cheaper, but it's fine. Like, I still think you can do it. Zach looks to be like not crazy high owned either, because we have some great value elsewhere. So I think it's fine to attack this spot against Memphis.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah. And Vooch's, to be fair, Vooch's usage has actually been pretty solid still since the trade. And Levine has done it too. Like, they've just both put up monster rates to kind of to everyone else's detriment. But I think that Levine's got 33 usage and a 30% assist over his last 5 games. That's balling. And he just went absolutely nuclear as the chalk on FanDuel the other night. Luckily, I did not downgrade him like I probably would have if I had more time and was looking at it closer. So I ended up with like 45% of him and basically matched the field. If I knew he was going to be 40% and I had like the time to really dig into it like I often do, that night I just happened to be like MMEing everything and just ran out of time. But I probably would have cost myself some Zach Levine. I probably wouldn't have played as much as I did. So, I think it's a strong play tonight. The price tag is still fine. The rates are monstrous, and I don't know. Memphis is an okay defense, but they're not anything special. Not anything you're really worried about. He did get a huge price bump on FanDuel. He's back up where he kind of used to be.
Right,
700. He was at. He was like 72, 74 for a week there, which was pretty rough. But I mean, it's a direct pivot off of Mitchell. He's $300 less. Like, that's not, Mitchell's probably whatever the Sims say, 27% to 14.5%. So yeah, Mitchell's 70% more likely to have the better game, or it's something. It's like 60-40 or something to that effect. But the ownership is 3x. So
right,
Levine's. That's a pivot. That's a pivot you can make and not a dumb one. So I don't think that is anything crazy. Do you have any? I was trying to look at this. There's not actually. I kind of think this would be tough for Valanciunas. This doesn't strike me as like Vucevic seems like a pretty decent guy, foil for him. And I looked it up. There's very few Valanciunas against Orlando games. Maybe I didn't go back to like his Toronto days, but like in the last couple of years, they haven't played against each other very much. The results haven't been anything special, but Vucevic does strike me as someone who can handle Valanciunas. So I'm not
interesting.
Really
That's really interesting. I thought a little bit of the opposite. Okay. Here's what I wouldn't do. I would not play both of them in the same lineup. Obviously on FanDuel, you can't do that either, right? Like, you can't do it anyway. Right. But on DraftKings, like, you can do that. I wouldn't do that. Because they'd be essentially vulturing. They're going to be vulturing each other's rebounds. Like, that's
and getting each other into foul trouble. Like, whoever's got the upper hand is getting more rebounds and giving the other guy fouls. So,
like, you know what I mean? So, like, that already is enough of a detriment for me not to consider playing them together. Vooch, isn't there a coincidence? Do you think that Vooch gets traded to Chicago and all of a sudden they're a little bit of a mess defensively? Like, I don't listen. I don't. It's not that I don't think. I think Vooch is a horrible defender, but I don't think he's very good either.
No, he's certainly not. That's not what I'm saying. But like, being a defender, being a team defender as a center versus being able to defend centers as a center is different.
No, that's fair.
I just think he's big enough to handle Valanciunas. He's not going to get pushed around. And in Orlando, like, he was in the right spot a lot. Clifford was very intense about that. That's his calling card. He's a defensive coach. And Vooch, he's not a particularly good guy. Like, he's aware enough to not be in the wrong place at the wrong time. But I don't necessarily think that, like, one-on-one, he's just going to get, like, punked. I think it's more like he's having trouble letting guards get to the rim. But that would be my snap take. But give me another take there while I look up a couple of numbers here.
So I honestly thought, like, when I looked at this slate and I saw Joel, my biggest problem with him wasn't him specifically. It was all the other centers on the slate. Battling Jokic, Embiid, Gobert in a smash spot. Drummond, exactly. It's a matchup against the Knicks, but he's still cheap enough that you gotta take some stabs there. Rashawn Holmes against New Orleans, it's okay, but he's down to below 7K on FanDuel again. Like, it's a lot of competition for Joel, and he's back to 7,800 on FanDuel. So those were my issues with him in this slate, not the matchup. But whatever it is, right? Whatever the issue is for him in this slate, like whatever you think that is, I think that the competition is tough enough where I certainly wouldn't do it in single entry 3 max. I would have some stabs in MME just in case things go right for him. And he does the 55 burger, and then there's just like a decent amount of failure on these other dudes. That's
or
the
the
go out there.
Right, or the garden wing studs are the ones that go off, and it's not Jokic or Embiid.
Yep,
that makes sense. Yeah, he's cheap enough that it's not insane to take a couple stabs, but that's a little trickier to dig into than I thought it might be. But I will look at that someday, and we'll discuss I'll put that on the docket for our next show together with the Bulls game. That how does the Bulls defense suck since the trade?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Let's see here. And then what about like Ja Morant? You interested there? It's
my instinct, based on everything I'm seeing, is no. Did you know that Ja barely got there the other night in overtime against the Knicks?
Mm-hmm.
Barely got there. I mean,
right.
I'm not saying
we talked about him at length on Friday or Thursday or whatever that was about how it's been a struggle for him. We're maybe a little bit out now.
Like it's not a bad spot. It's matchup wise, it's not like I'm running away. But my instinct tells me kind of don't do it on this slate.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's fine. Who did Memphis play last?
I mean, he's 12% optimal on FanDuel. So would you do like in MME, would you do like 10 to 12%? Sure. Yeah. I'm not saying you can't take some stops there like that, but single entry 3 max, if he's not on he is right now not on my pool.
Okay. Yeah, it's not a play I'm targeting, and his ownership is actually higher than his optimal. It's looking at 15% ownership. So
jeez. Yeah.
It's not amazing. Chicago doesn't run a whole lot, especially now. So,
well, that's not good for him.
No,
that's not good for Ja either. So,
it's not. Well, you know who is in a good spot tonight is Zion Williamson.
It's a great game.
He's on the New Orleans Pelicans. He is playing against the Sacramento Kings, and oh baby, this is a good fantasy game.
Hey, this is let me double check this because this is definitely worth talking about. This is a standings game, Andrew. Big standings game. So New Orleans is right now sitting at 11th in the West. They are one game behind Golden State, right where they want to be. They're one game behind Golden State, who has a massive game against Denver tonight. They don't play tomorrow either. New Orleans is one game behind them, and then Sacramento is 2 behind New Orleans. So listen, Sacramento essentially kind of has to win tonight. They've been losing these games. They were losing some games that they had to win, and that was really bad for them. So now it feels like they're probably done. If they don't beat the Pelicans tonight, they're probably like really done. It's going to be tough to make.
They're 3 games behind the 10 seed.
But just 2 behind the Pels, and then like there's a scenario where they win tonight, and then Golden State loses against Denver. Like that's totally possible.
Yeah, then they're 2 games. No, I suppose so.
And like they're right there, right? But then you lose. Now you're getting to the point where you lose one, and it just feels like, oh, we can't. We can't make it up. That's what I feel like is going on with Sacramento. This is a massive game for both of these teams. So I know it's a back end of back-to-back for the Pels, but looking at their injury report, I know Lonzo's not going to play tonight. Neither is Naw or Josh Hart. So from a continuity standpoint, Andrew, I think this is great because we're going to see essentially the same rotations they've been using for the last 2 games.
Yep.
Like literally the last 2 games are a great example of what they're going to do here. So I feel pretty confident about where we're at with the Pels right now from a projection standpoint.
No, I think so too. And listen, obviously spent a lot of time talking about Zion, how it's a little bit tricky. Sometimes he struggles to get into the 60s. He's got those T-Rex arms, so he doesn't get a ton of stocks. But he just is doing whatever he wants. He's playing point guard more and more. There were like quotes about him playing point guard now, and we've been talking about that for 2 months. But, he's got a pretty consistent 20% assist rate now. And, the usage is dumb, and like the efficiency is dumber. Just, so he's just in a classic movie spot, as it were. But with the issues with some of the other studs, this is like, okay, he's still a little bit cheaper than them. And I'm not as scared of, and there's no Giannis, who's actually the scariest one, I feel like. Except, Luka when he's on and Harden when they're on, I guess. But like Giannis is really, really scary too. Centers are kind of a little bit easier to dodge. Jokic is a harder one to dodge, but whatever. My point is that like we're not super scared of like multiple $11,000 dudes putting up 80 tonight. So if you've got the 9 to 10K dude, whatever, I think he's 9 and 9.5 or something like that. He's very expensive, probably a spot we wouldn't have really loved a month ago. But if he puts up like high 50s, I think he's got a pretty good shot at being a tournament winner. Like even low mid 50s, I think is really there, and he is gonna score. Like, I mean, Sacramento is not a good rim protecting team. No. That's what he does. They're not a good rebounding team. Yeah. That's how he gets, his offense, just like those he's going to get all those putbacks. If he has a 30-12 game with 6 assists and just 1 or 2 stocks, then I think he wins the tournament tonight. I think that's very doable.
That's not a bad take. It's not a bad take. He's showing up as 20% optimal on FanDuel, lower on DraftKings, obviously, It's just different over there with MPE, but he's showing up as 12% optimal on DraftKings. I think the ownership and the optimal, like everything that I'm saying, sounds about right for him. Yeah. But this matchup is insane. It's just so good. I actually had a take on the other side of this because I don't disagree with you on the Zion stuff. I had a take on the other side of the ball here with Sacramento. I think Whiteside. This has to be a spot where Whiteside should play more, because it doesn't strike me as a great Rashawn spot because of Zion. Yeah. But also, how great do I feel about like 20 Whiteside minutes or whatever? It's not that we've seen it a good bit here lately. We haven't seen it, but this struck me as hey, they probably should run Whiteside a little bit more. I don't know how sharp Luke Walton is with that stuff, but
I like that take too, because the only shooter you're scared of is Ingram, and the rebound. They're the best rebounding team in the league, and Whiteside at least will. He's a big ass dude that can do a good job at rebounding and keeping other teams off the glass. So I think that's a good call. I think we could see 20 Whiteside minutes.
It's a great call, but like if Rashawn doesn't get into foul trouble and the Kings are kind of hanging around in there, they're also just going to be like, why change it?
Good point.
But yet, I still think that they should at least try that. So Whiteside is stupid cheap, right? Again, and so 3,600 on DraftKings. He has an awful projection, and whatever. So it's something to consider in MME. I would not do it anywhere else, but in MME, hoping that some of these things work out. Yeah, you're not going to get past it with 11 Whiteside minutes. You're certainly hoping for the
but
20.
If he gets 20, he's going to project for 30 points, and there's a ceiling of 40 in 20 minutes for him, honestly.
So I thought that was interesting. I think this is a great – listen, you mentioned a great Zion spot. I think this is a pretty darn good De'Aaron Fox spot. The Kings are going all out tonight, okay? They're empty. They got to empty it. They got to play Fox probably closer to 40 minutes. I'm not even joking with you. You might see that tonight. Same with Harrison Barnes. You might see 40 minutes out of these dudes tonight. They got to.
I think so. Yeah.
It feels like it's win or go home for them in terms of their playoff chances.
New Orleans is playing very big lately too, which is another help potentially for Zion. Like they just don't have any shooting. So other than Ingram, so you can play Whiteside. I think that's right. Speaking of shooting, New Orleans. New Orleans and Charlotte, I forget which one each time, but one of the worst two teams at allowing wide open threes.
Yeah.
Buddy Hield, dude. Like,
Oh man,
Buddy Hield.
One of these spots, right? One of these spots.
He's a guy who puts up 50 fantasy points like 5 times a year or whatever it is. But like, this is as good a spot for him as there is, and I don't think he's going to get owned because, people are. He's so inconsistent. I don't think people really like playing Buddy Hield. I don't really blame him.
No, I don't blame him either. Who would you rather play tonight? Don't look at anything. Halliburton or Hield, without looking at anything.
For tournaments, Hield. I don't think Halliburton has a 45-point upside, and Hield sure as shit does.
I kind of agree. It's not a consistent upside like Hield has shown, but as you said, it's like once in a blue moon he'll do it. He will absolutely do it because he takes so many threes.
Yeah.
So I think it has to be Hield.
Right. Does he go 9 for 15 or whatever, like 11 for 19 from 3 tonight? Like, I think that's conceivable. He's going to get the open looks. So I don't know. That just seems like they're what are they about the same price? Probably.
Yeah, they're about the same price. About the same price. And obviously with the better shooting comes the better minutes, right? That's essentially what happens with those guys.
Yeah. It's obviously Halliburton if it's like last man in for a cash team or whatever, but that he's going to have a better projection. But I think Hield is the more interesting tournament play.
Yeah, Hallie is like pretty damn consistent, right? That is the one thing that you have to say about him, and it's a great thing for DFS in terms of like a cash game, but in tournaments you kind of want to flip that sometimes, especially with these mid-tier guys. Like, give me some variance in there. They're not going to get us owned either,
Right, variance is your friend in tournaments, 100%. So. Yeah, this is a great game. There's so many plays. I mean, we didn't even talk about Ingram. Ingram's in a great spot. Like, can totally play him. I'm not playing be careful about how you do it. Like, I don't mind game stacking this, but I'm probably not playing like Zion and Ingram just because they cut into each other's usage too much. I'm probably not playing. I don't really have a huge problem with any of the Sacramento guys together. I guess Barnes is a little bit of his own animal, but like, really, I don't think there's any of them that are like it's me time and just absolutely take over because only Barnes has a well-rounded enough offensive game to kind of even do that. You know what I mean? Like Hield and Halliburton can't really dribble, and Fox can't really shoot. So they need each other to make the offense work. Barnes is the one guy that can kind of do it all, but Ingram and Williamson both do it all themselves. So,
I mean, I guess you could say if Hield has the nuclear game. Okay, like if you want to dive into that scenario and he scores 30 real life points, then that is probably it's just probably outright bad for De'Aaron Fox.
Probably, unless he dimes up a lot of them, but sure, probably.
But probably, right? Probably.
Because Fox is definitely because he can't shoot, he's such a guy that gets to the rim, and that is the one thing New Orleans sort of can do. They have a lot of big guys that can hang around at the basket and stop him from doing that, but they're not going to stop him from penetrating. No. If he doesn't pull up from floater, does he then kick to a wide open Buddy Hield a bunch of times? Maybe.
Sure.
There's I'm less worried about guys on the Sacramento side playing them together than I am about some of the New Orleans guys. So. Cool. But yeah, it's a dope game. Lots of plays in it. Okay. There are not a lot of plays in the Lakers and the Knicks. Lakers front end, Knicks back end. I mean, there's plays, but it's a gross game. You see that it's total of 205 or 204 or something. It's really sick like that.
Sick, dude. Sick total here. Wow, this is a real barn burner here.
Yeah, both pretty good defenses and both play slow. So, the Lakers have been a good defense even lately. So, it's not what you want.
I don't know how much. God, I don't know how much I trust that, but it's what's happened, right?
Right.
Can't change what's happened. But their injury report's also a little full. They got Kuzma and Wes Matthews. Gasol Q, but that. Even if in, because Drummond is in, that's not going to be a thing anymore. So, the one thing I would say, Andrew, that kind of interested me outside of Drummond on the Lakers side, because Drummond, I don't know about you, but I'm still interested. I'm still interested. I think we're going to see an uptick in minutes here pretty soon. He got into foul trouble one game that he probably was going to play 30 on the dot. and he played like 26 and a half or something like that. So you're going to see more minutes soon. He's under 7K. It feels like there's a lot to like there. But outside of that, I thought Taylor Horn-Tucker, like, I gotta mention him again. He's 5,300 on DraftKings. He would be the guy that starts if no Kuzma. That's what we saw in that Brooklyn game. And he was just like a playmaking machine. Granted, Dennis Schroeder also got tossed from that game, which helps. It had to help him directly on the playmaking duties. But if no Kuzma, they just need guys. They need guys to carry the offense. And believe it or not, THT can't really shoot, but the playmaking there has been pretty nice. So I think he'd be a guy. He'd be a guy to consider, my opinion.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he's a fine play. Schroeder's a decent play. There's some okay ones, but it's just like it's kind of a gross game. I definitely like Drummond. I don't hate Randall.
Don't hate Randall. No,
that's a fine one. He's always kind of in play. What do we got here? Sorry, I was trying to look up the Lakers shooting luck, and it appears that opponents are shooting like 32% from three against them since LeBron went down. So there's definitely some shooting luck going on. I don't know how bad their schedule's been, but they've got like a 103 defensive rating over a month. So they're starting to get to be like, okay,
over a month.
That's strong or whatever. How long's LeBron? I want to say it was like March 11th that he went out, right?
Yeah, it's been some. It's been some time. It's definitely been some games. It's not due to a lack of sample size, is what I would say. It's been about 9 games, 10 games, getting closer to that. So
okay, yeah, I maybe even more, but yeah, that's not really important. But it's been a while, and they're a 103 defensive rating over the last month. So even if it is some opponent shooting luck, at a certain point, it becomes the next thing. And it's like, all right, well, maybe they're still doing okay. And yeah, that's pretty much it for me. I like Randall for the Knicks. I mean, I guess we talked about Derrick Rose the other day. Like he will show up a little bit in optimals potentially. I don't like it, but he's
smashed that game, dude. That game that you mentioned that you said, dude,
really?
Look back at the game log. Be a game log watcher for a minute.
I didn't get to play that night.
He did the hilarious. Thing.
I was talking about him. We talked ourselves out of him on the show, and then of course he just went nuts. Yeah, he'll have some games. He's cheap enough that there's a ceiling there for him. So I like him all right, but. Other than that, it's a slow defensive game, so you're targeting more big guys, dudes that get rebounds and stocks and all that kind of stuff because it's going to be kind of nasty. You're not looking at like volume shooters here necessarily. So
no. No.
Okay, we got a couple more games here. Denver is on the back end of against Golden State. This is the last real game, I would say.
Yeah. Yep.
And James Wiseman likely to miss the season. Poor guy. I'm not trying to pile on him.
I know.
I feel like I have plenty, but Golden State is going to be a much better offense now. They were 10 points worse. They had a 101 offensive rating with him on the floor. It's just that's unacceptable. So they're going to be better now, and they're only 4-point dogs to Denver at home. So bit of an interesting game. They're a really good offense. They're a good team when Steph Curry's out there. When Steph Curry and Draymond are out there, they're still good. They just don't have a lot of other players around that. Kelly Oubre will miss again tonight, but it's a pretty good game. And Golden State is right in the playoff mix, or the dregs of the playoff mix, and they can probably climb a little bit without Wiseman around. What do you got for plays on Golden State? Sorry.
So I think no, you're fine. You're fine. I would say this is not a hot take whatsoever, but I do think Curry is a better player than Luka tonight. I feel very strongly about that. Must-win game for Golden State essentially feels like that. Not that it is, but it feels like that. They got to win. They got to win. And it feels like, Kerr really wants them to get into the at least I think he's happy that they're in the playoff mix, but if they can make it, he kind of wants them to. Is what I'm getting from the comments that I've heard. When I saw that Klay Thompson was down for the season, I was like, oh yeah, what does it matter if they make it or not? They probably shouldn't, and they should just tank and get another ping pong ball. But that wasn't going to be the direction they were going to take because Curry was healthy, and so was Draymond. So I get it, but now that they've chosen that direction, okay, now tonight is a really big test for them. We saw Curry's minutes get into nearly the 40 range, like very high 30s in the last Island game. And Kerr was essentially quoted of saying, like, hey, I spoke with Curry earlier in the day and told him, I'd like to play you more in these spots. So we responded with essentially a 36-minute projection there. I think it can get to 38 tonight, Andrew. And the rates there without Wiseman, I think they're going to take a step forward. Same with Wiggins. The thing with Wiseman is as much as we crack jokes on him, it's also from a DFS perspective, it's pretty big rates for a guy that we were projecting like 20 plus minutes there on a consistent basis. So now you're seeing like a 35% plus usage rate for Steph, because now it's Kevon Looney minutes, and Looney's like a 10% usage rate guy. So I think that this is actually, from a DFS angle, it's pretty darn good for Curry, Wiggins, Oubre. All those guys are going to get usage bumps, and it's a game that they got to kind of empty the tank and play a lot of minutes. So I think those are side.
Yeah, I think those are all good points, and I like the Golden State side too. Specifically, Jokic is a premier play tonight. He probably will be the most popular play on the slates. But other than Donovan Mitchell, I suppose. But he's right up there with him, and because there's value, and he's one of the spends. His projection is showing up a little bit better because of some of the issues for the Lucas of the world lately. So I agree that there's a lot of plays on Denver. Jamal Murray is questionable again. He hasn't played in a while. Yeah. I mean, I guess he doesn't play again, but who knows? Okay. I have no inside info. It's just he's been missing. He's been questionable and missed 4 games in a row.
And Jamal's a pretty tough guy. Like if he doesn't miss games, so that him missing games is certainly not good. But I think Jokic is an awesome play. If Jamal Murray's out, his assist rate has been in the 50s without that dude in there. His assist rate in general lately has just been absurd. I don't know how you feel about Jokic exactly tonight, but I feel great about him as the top play. Great about him. As good a shot as any guy in the slate to get 60, 65, if that's a decent threshold.
Yep. No, I think so too. Absolutely. Absolutely great play tonight. So with you there. Okay, now we just have some pretty gross games left. Houston is going to play Phoenix. Phoenix is on the front end of a back-to-back. Phoenix is not a fun team to play against, and Houston sucks. So this has some strong blowout potential, of course, but Houston's down some dudes. There's some, there's some plays. You like anybody? Anybody you could talk me into for MME?
I'll keep it snappy here. The only thing I would say is if you find some really low ownership on Wall, Devin Booker, God damn it, CP3 is almost 9K on FanDuel. I mean,
don't do that.
I can't even tell you that. So if you find some good ownership on Booker, Wall, those guys,
Booker's 9,400.
Where on FD?
On FanDuel, yeah. So
but 4% owned.
I know that's really cheap, but I think that's I don't know, man. Even in MME, I'm more into I'll do Zach at 12% owned as opposed. He's $400 more expensive than Mitchell is, and $700 more than Levine. He's $1,200 more than Beal. It's
feels bad. It feels bad.
$1,500 more than DeRozan.
Yeah.
I mean, Terrence Ross, who we'll talk about in a second. We can. Do you want to just the Orlando San Antonio game? I like Terrence Ross and Keldon Johnson. Next.
So Gary Harris is out for Orlando. It's obviously we're already baking this in, right? So it's not, we don't believe it's going to result in anything meaningful. They still have enough dudes, in the Dwayne Bacon and James Enos territory that it's just not. It's just not a thing. I think Bamba's kind of interesting again.
But
great. He's now getting more ownership on DraftKings and a little bit tougher to justify on FanDuel, but I think you can still do it. It's not a crazy play anymore.
No, I don't think so either. He was off to a really hot start the other night, then got hurt, went to the locker room, came back and was not as good. But, he put up like 32 fantasy points or something like that. It's a good play for quite cheap. And Ross, I think, is a really interesting shooting guard at FanDuel where everyone's spending up. That's what people, they're playing Ingles. So you got like Ingles and one of Zach or Donovan Mitchell or DeRozan in most lineups. And Terrence Ross, he's not going to start. He's going to get a bit of a lower projection, but I don't know. Like he just will take every shot, especially if OKK's out, because he's actually been putting up a fair amount of shots lately. So Ross is the captain now. He has said so himself.
Yeah, OKK is cute tonight, by the way, on the Orlando side. So good point there. But seems like an ugly game between these two. DeRozan, I think you can do on the San Antonio side. You said Keldon. It's okay. For me, it's like DeJounte, DeMar. I'm probably out on everything else.
Keldon's like 15% owned tonight. Actually, that makes it less fun.
15% owned. Why?
On FanDuel because he's 5,100. Small forward isn't great.
Oh, that's why. Yeah, that's why. Okay, I understand it, but I don't have to like it, and I don't like it.
Yeah, I'd rather do Healed. I don't know. Bazemore is the same price as him. Bazemore's got more secure minutes at least.
Yeah,
Michael Porter and Ingram and Kuzma and Kyle Anderson are all over 7K. So that makes it a little more difficult there.
I agree. I'm in agreement with you on that one. Don't like the ownership.
Boyan. Yeah, Boyan's a good play, obviously. 5,200. It'll be, he's 17% owned, but Bazemore, Keldon, and Boyan are all like 14 to 17% owned. Small forward just a little weird tonight.
No, even Najee Marshall is gonna
picking up for us.
Yeah, 4,100 been starting for SVG. So
yep. Oh, I don't know. Maybe if Kuzma plays, he's the interest, or Kyle Anderson, right? Say that Chicago sells out to bottle up John Morant.
No, I'm not. I'm going to stop you right there at 70.
Small forward sucks, dude. I don't know what to do here. I don't want all these guys that are picking up ownership. I'm like, ugh, I don't want that.
No shot at Kyle Anderson. No shot.
Okay.
None.
Okay. Fine. Sorry, I was stalling. I couldn't remember what the last game was, but it is. Oh, we already hit it. We did Houston, Phoenix. We did San Antonio, Orlando. So let's wrap this thing up. What do you got for last words for the people this evening?
Let's see. Well, we do have to. We got to confirm to see if some games happen or not. The only games that haven't happened today, have been around the Minnesota area. So, but you could see, this situation last year, Andrew, did get players to sit due to personal reasons. I mean, Kyrie Irving just did it tonight, by the way. It's just that the game didn't play. But I'm pretty sure he was out because of the situation. So,
yeah, I think so too.
You're not seeing guys on the injury report. You might not even see them at 5:30. But keep an eye on that because I think we could definitely get popped with out of the woodworks, personal reasons. This guy is out. That's pretty relevant to the slate.
Right, that's true. It is. I mean, specifically right now, it's been a Minneapolis thing because that's where George Floyd obviously was killed, and then the other incident yesterday. So that is why the Twins and Timberwolves games have gotten postponed. But no, that does make sense that other people around the league could start to, in solidarity,
absolutely
set it out. And that was their right.
Absolutely. So I would say that, and we mentioned some games, Andrew, with playoff type of implications tonight. Where we don't often say that, but tonight, right, and in some of these shows, we have started to talk about it because we realized that was coming. And tonight is absolutely one of those nights. So in a couple of those games, New Orleans, Sacramento, and then Denver, Golden State, I think you can get a little bit even more aggro than we have on the minutes on some of those teams. We're not going to do it on the median side for you, we've done it with certain guys like Curry, as I mentioned earlier. But I think you can get even more aggressive on your own runs, and you can legitimately justify it because of their context tonight.
Okay, I think that is absolutely fair, and I'm with you. Those are the games. I mean, if you're stacking anything, and with 8 games, like you can start to look at stacking.
You can do it.
I've often said like 7 is where I start to key in on it more, but 8's like it's fine. You catching overtime for 4 guys will definitely help. I wouldn't be like mega stacking and just trying to get 7 guys from a game in, but with 8 games out there. But Sacramento and New Orleans and Denver, Golden State are really good games. So if they do keep going, that's a good thing. So is Washington, Utah, for that matter, just with the amount of value. Yeah. So
sure, it's just no playoff implication directly right into that.
Absolutely
not.
Yeah, none whatsoever, my friend. Okay, man. Well, great talking to you. Glad you're on the up and up after your after that vax. I got my second shot coming in a couple weeks. I'm not looking forward to it after.
You got to do it.
We're doing our part for herd immunity. Let's get there so we can go do real things again. Although, listen, we both like staying at home and watching basketball and playing DFS. So we'll do that too for as long as we have to. All right, everyone. Good luck in all of your contests tonight, and we'll have a show with Davis and Pacheco. We'll be back for you tomorrow.